Year after year, we have witnessed and or participated in the excitement of New Year's resolutions. We claim the willpower to aggressively start off the new year right, with a new drive, a new attitude, and a confidence to finally get our lives the way we want them to be. However, days into the new year, that explosive energy quickly declines, and we find ourselves unable to regain the belief that this is my year of change. Many will agree that life operates according to nature. In an effort to control and find certainty in our lives, we as human beings like to plan things. We create expectations for certain outcomes and with certain people. However, those efforts turn out to be jokes to the universe, and nature runs its course without any regard for our mental plans. We are all participants programmed to operate within a bigger program beyond what most can fathom or even believe. Although the Gregorian calendar is what most people are familiar with and operate by, it is not the original calendar, and it distorts the natural connection the collective has with our global annual cycles. Through understanding your human design genetic blueprint, you will find the DNA codes and formulas behind the moment to moment experiences in this reality. Human design is literally the blueprint of your personal matrix and the bigger cycles of the matrix we operate in. But most people are unfamiliar with this foundational knowledge. The flawed mental programming from this calendar, along with man made holidays, causes the masses to be stuck in the belief that they can start something new during a time that nature will not allow. Trying to begin anything new during the first 3 weeks in January is more than likely not going to work out. The reason for this is because the cycles of nature's program and our DNA codons are not designed for beginnings during that time. The first 3 weeks in January are genetically about endings and bringing the annual cycle to a close. Let's explore the phases we must go through before the real annual cycle begins to start your New Year's resolutions. Pay close attention if you happen to be born during the dates of the cycles that I speak about, or if you have any of these DNA codons activated within your personal human design blueprint. You'll find a deep connection to the descriptions, and you'll be able to correlate them with your behaviors and your experiences in life. Let's begin. From December 31st, 2016, New Year's Eve, until January 5th, 2017, we transit into the phase called the cross of tension. This phase activates our 38th DNA codon, known as the fighter, and the 39th DNA codon, known as the provocateur. The low frequency energy these activations bring to the planet is relentless warrior energy. It presents itself in the forms of struggle, aggression, action, anger, destruction, fighting, stubbornness, provoking, fatigue, sadness, a fear of death, and a fear of losing individual freedom. This is the way every year our new year begins. Don't get discouraged though. Luckily, our awareness allows us to access more options in this dualistic reality, which means that based on your personal frequency, you do not have to experience all of those low vibrational energies. If you do, however, at least you will be conscious as to what is going on and be able to respond correctly. Remember, we're dealing with the mass collective consciousness that has been homogenized and programmed to be stuck in the lower realms. So yes, we will see much more of the darker energies play themselves out globally. People who set their New Year's resolutions at this time will start the new year off aggressively, ready to explode into their new thing. But it'll be a struggle mixed with fear and anger, which will ultimately lead into sadness and fatigue. This particular phase is also directly connected to our physical breathing. Because of all the tension this phase brings, the lower frequencies deplete our energies and reduce our capacity to operate correctly, which significantly restricts us from breathing deeply. So be aware of your activities. Be aware of the pressure to push people's buttons and people trying to provoke you, and the feelings of extra anger and aggression and the need to find a struggle or fight. For those of you who are operating at a higher frequency with an awareness of what to expect from these lower frequencies, it will be much easier for you to sit back, relax, breathe deeply, and be still. This allows all of the tension to do the opposite within you. Release. The next phase is from January 5th until January 10th. On January 5th, we transit into the phase called the cross of penetration. This phase activates our 53rd DNA codon, known as beginnings, and our 54th DNA codon, known as ambition. The cross of penetration at the lower frequencies are all about business building based on power, money, and greed. There's tremendous stress brought to the planet by these energies, and it is the stress to be materially rich through gluttony and agony. This energy is very immature and is caused by us being so individual that we cannot see our connection to nature. When we can't connect to nature, we experience being so stifled that we can't leave the old and go into the new. We become sedated and cut ourselves off from the world, and we refuse to embrace new things out of fear. In other cases, we may jump prematurely into things and never commit or follow through. That ultimately leads to self-destruction and anger. The urge for meaning and purpose in life is what the cross of penetration brings, but many times we lose our ambition, fall into depressions, and deny our needs. Those who operate at these lower frequencies feel their lives are not of benefit to others and attempt to control them with power and anger. Operating at the higher frequencies, we experience a beautiful balance of honest, genuine wealth and spirituality. This promotes and produces a continually expansive and overflow of abundance. When it comes to business building, we experience rewarding relationships, which have unity, ambition, and true meaning and purpose that caters to the collective. In these higher frequencies, greed and the need to have power over others is not involved. There's no lack, and everyone experiences the flow of spiritual and material needs being met. The next phase is from January 10th until January 16th. This is when we transit into the phase called the cross of the Maya. In this phase, we experience the activation of our 62nd DNA codon, known as detail, and the 61st DNA codon, known as mystery. The energies of this phase are neurologically and chemically in our mental system and target the lower frequencies of intellect and psychosis. There's an extreme obsession with education, science, religion, facts, and abuse through language. This phase deeply confuses our mental systems and is hugely responsible for our mental enslavement. You'll find that there is a focus on the details of the smallest, most insignificant things, which is really to avoid the feeling of suffering within. There's also a usage of intellect to attack others in order to discredit them and make them feel unintelligent. The need to release mental pressure is the theme of this cycle. For those that become repressed by these energies, they become the perfect servants by imitating and conforming to anything outside of themselves that claims to guarantee them a relief from the mental pressure. They ultimately become attached to a structure, leader, or ideology, and they lock into a specific direction outside of their individual nature. They end up building their whole reality around that one thing that they have bonded to as their truth. At the higher frequencies of this cycle, we experience inspiration, precision, sanctity, and impeccability. Through self-reflection and taking responsibility, intellect becomes intelligence, and you'll find a balance between your mind and heart. The feminine principles of intuition, listening, and receiving naturally come to the forefront of your life. The masculine principles of intellect, thinking, and transmitting transition into supporting, serving, and uplifting the feminine principles. Your untamed ego no longer runs wild, and you naturally operate in your inner truth that you are source. Through this frequency of impeccability, your mental constructs are dismantled. You open up for infinite love as you enter into the infinitely limitless realms of the unknowable. Our next phase is from January 16th until January 21st. This is the time that we transit into the phase called the Cross of Laws. The Cross of Laws activates our 56 DNA codon known as stimulation and our 60th DNA codon known as acceptance. This is the final phase that brings our annual cycle to a close. The 56 codon is known as a stop codon. Within our genetically programmed life cycles, this codon is designed to keep us distracted. The 60th codon is specifically designed to freeze us and prevent anything new from coming in. When dealing with the lower frequencies of the Cross of Laws, we experience distractions through our 5 senses. The world is veiled for the specific process of decay and decline. Physically, these energies are directly connected to our endocrine and nervous systems and can cause deterioration at these lower frequencies. It is through the Cross of Laws that we experience the addiction the world has on being inwardly or outwardly distracted and heavily dependent on form and structure. This ultimately keeps us miserable. It keeps us understimulated, overstimulated, rigid, controlling, and angry. These energies are responsible for the victim the world has become to television, politics, cell phones, bills, restaurants, the internet, social media drama, pornography, and the many other things that keep us addicted and desperate to distract ourselves from the truth. We have become victims of someone else's thinking through the environmental conditioning brought about by this phase. This keeps us blind to the fact that we cannot control the flow of life, and it prevents us from seeing that there is a built-in mechanism to correct anything that needs balance. We lose our sense and belief in magic because of this over-reliance on structure, and we end up in disharmony and waste our potential. This also causes us to feel our security is threatened by anything new. This makes us unable to commit to anything and makes us oblivious in how to build and maintain relationships with others. In the higher frequencies of the cross of laws, we experience realism, magic, enrichment, self-discipline, and divine justice. We understand the laws of nature and divine timing, and we accept the fact that limitation is a part of the process of evolution. We experience the balance between vice and virtue, wildness and responsibility, and youthfulness and wisdom. Instead of being limited by distraction, we transmute our energy into joy and purpose and allow only high vibrational energies to gain our attention. Through this understanding, we learn the law of manifesting within the natural limitation of life's process. Instead of trying to destroy the existing laws, we learn how to work with them and introduce a change into the new through them. The cross of laws at the highest frequencies is a master at creating structures through language, art, music, and many other forms of uplifting entertainment. This is the ultimate form of amusement, laughter, and contagion. It is intoxication through self-love, and those that display these high frequencies collectively bring an end to the illusion of limitation. On January 21st, 2017, we finally reached the point where the new annual cycle begins. We transit into the phase known as the cross of the unexpected. This phase activates our 41st DNA codon, known as contraction, and the 31st DNA codon, known as leadership. The 41st codon is the key to this beginning because it is the only start codon in our 64 DNA codon matrix. When you look at any genetic code for a living body, when you see the 41st DNA codon, that organism always acts on instructions that follow it within the sequence. It instantly shifts into operation as if it knows to begin building once it sees that 41st DNA codon. This codon creates the pressure to evolve and feel happy. It has one main focus, and that is the next evolutionary grid that is in queue to bring into material form. When dealing with the lower frequencies of the cross of the unexpected, this is about dreaming, fantasy, suffering, appetite and energy problems, chronic fatigue, hyperactivity, arrogance, scorn, and manipulation. The 41st codon is so major, not just because it's the only start codon, but it literally holds our entire genetic history and our whole evolution within it. Even though that is fascinating, the downside to that is the pressure put on all of us by the ancestral weight that ultimately drags us down. We fantasize and dream of a better life, but rarely bring it into reality because of this weight. We're constantly urged by this start codon to break free, but it takes enormous courage to face all of that past. As we attempt to face this pressure, fear usually takes over and causes us to avoid it by any means necessary. The cross of the unexpected shows us through its low frequencies that our issues are only in our minds based on our ability or inability to fantasize about the future. Mentally, we are never satisfied, and our minds go back and forth between past and future, never seeing the present moment. We become addicted to hope and never actually take off. We end up living our lives off of created fantasies through the movies, internet, other people, etc. The arrogance that is displayed is through the belief that we have independent control over our reality and that nature is not in control. We tend to use language to manipulate, control, and program others through lies instead of truths. Arrogance is the addiction to words and language and not the actual frequency of the intention behind it. There is also a deep-rooted need for recognition in people that will make them purposely give their power away to others, making themselves inferior. These people are highly concerned about what other people think of them, and it is completely fear-based. At the higher frequencies of this phase, we experience anticipation, influence, leadership, humility, and emanation. We're literally able to tap into and download all of the invisible energy grids from the past or future. In other words, we have access to all of the hidden blueprints of evolution itself. And depending on your frequency, that will determine what blueprints you are able to tap into. What we call premonitions, ghosts, past lives, and other non-physical happenings are all unexpectedly experienced through these codons. We ultimately go from just dreaming and turn our dreams into pure manifestation. We master language and unlock the understanding that the collective needs to be influenced and led into freedom. So there you have it. Be aware of your energies and emotions, and also those that you interact with. The program can be a beautiful and wonderful experience through your awareness, or it can hijack you and send you on a wild ride with no seatbelt. This bit of information provided for the first month of 2017 can be a guide to help you strengthen your awareness of how the program works for this year and the years ahead. You can also learn how you and others are affected based on different levels of consciousness. You can even test it out by attempting to start something new before January 21st. If you find it doesn't work out for you, at least you don't have to be discouraged. You can always just try again, but this time according to nature's beginning for the annual cycle. I must give credit to Jovian Archive and the Gene Keys system for being the sources of information used in my studies to compose this article. Thank you. That was some good stuff. To receive your free DNA genetic blueprint, please visit my website and follow the instructions under the tab. If you would like to go further and have a session with me, please click on the Services tab. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact me before making any transactions. I encourage anyone who is interested in knowing more about human design to search online and look at the information available. Whether you like to teach yourself or you prefer a teacher, there are many books available and many different types of people who can assist you. If you see value in this information, it's a great way to invest in yourself and move towards self-empowerment. Thank you to all my supporters, clients, and people who encourage me to keep learning, growing, and helping others. I appreciate you all. Free your mind to shine. Until next time.